Underwater, everything seems calm. The Baltic Sea, at first glance, shows no signs that beneath it lies one of the most ambitious projects in European history. In a quiet corner between Germany and Denmark, workers are methodically digging a tunnel almost no one is talking about. And the deeper you dig into this story, the more unbelievable it becomes. The scale of this project is hard to overstate. This isn't just a construction site. It's silence, hiding a revolution. A multi-billion-euro project that barely makes headlines. Why? What is Germany trying to keep quiet? And why is no one talking about the tunnel that could change trade routes, tourism, and even international relations in Europe? It all began in southern Denmark, where the construction of the Fehmarnbelt Tunnel quietly started. An underwater connection between the Danish town of Rudby and the German town of Puttgarden. It will stretch 17.6 kilometers and become the longest immersed tunnel in the world, combining both road and rail transport. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. The silence surrounding this project is deceptive. While public attention is focused on flashy skyscrapers or ultra-modern bridges, beneath the sea's surface, meticulous and technologically complex work is underway. Europe is changing, and doing so in a whisper. Construction officially began in 2020, after years of legal battles, environmental studies, and complex international agreements. The tunnel is expected to be fully operational by 2029. Funding comes mainly from Denmark, with strong support from the European Union. The total investment has already surpassed 7 billion euros. And despite the colossal cost, governments see it as a justified project, because it's not just about connecting two shores. It will change everything. Before the tunnel idea, the only way to travel between Denmark and Germany at that location was by ferry. The bird flight line, in operation since the 1960s, has carried millions of passengers and thousands of trucks each year. But growing logistics demands and frequent weather disruptions have made this method outdated. The new tunnel will cut travel time from 45 minutes to just 10 minutes by car, and only 7 minutes by train. It will completely reshape mobility between Scandinavia and Central Europe, becoming a logistical revolution, especially for freight. Goods will now be transported faster, cheaper, and in a more eco-friendly way. But why dig a tunnel instead of building a bridge? The answer lies in the unique conditions of the Baltic Sea. Its shallow waters make bridge construction unsafe due to winds and waves, while an immersed tunnel offers stability, reliability, and minimal impact on marine life. Engineers call this project not just grand, but the event of the century. It's setting new global standards in underwater construction, sustainable development, and international cooperation. And all of this became possible thanks to a massive operation to remove millions of cubic meters of sand and silt from the seafloor. This is where the biggest questions arise. Why does Germany need so much sand? And what are they really doing with it? Now we go even deeper. Literally, you'll learn about the invisible giant dredging operation that changed everything we thought we knew about underwater construction. Get ready, because the truth beneath the mud is more shocking than you might think. What's hidden below is no longer just a tunnel. It's a carefully orchestrated operation to reshape the seabed. To build the Fehmarnbelt Tunnel, over 19 million cubic meters of sand, silt, and clay must be removed. To put that into perspective, that's roughly half the volume excavated during the construction of the Panama Canal. Except here, it all happens underwater, and almost silently. But here's the twist. No one talks about what happens to that sand. Germany is literally transporting it away in massive quantities and doing it as if someone's hiding something. Marine engineers were stunned by the scale. To dig a trench 60 meters wide and up to 16 meters deep along nearly 18 kilometers, they had to use equipment once reserved for military or space operations. Unique ships are at work, massive dredgers equipped with high-precision GPS and sonar systems. They suck up seabed sediments like underwater vacuum cleaners, filling cargo holds with sand and clay. But surprise, in some areas, the sand is so tightly compressed with glacial rock that floating cranes with heavy-duty buckets are needed to literally rip the material from beneath the sea. In other zones, underwater excavators are deployed. This isn't just construction anymore. It's a deep-sea battle with geology. And here's another twist. All that sand isn't being dumped. It's part of another hidden project. The extracted material is being used to build artificial shores, raise land around the tunnel portals, create protective dunes, and even habitats for wildlife. Some of these newly formed areas are already being classified as green zones and recreational areas. In essence, Germany and Denmark are not just digging a tunnel, they're redrawing the coastline. But of course, drama wasn't far behind. Environmentalists raised alarms early on. Drilling, noise, and murky waters could harm rare marine life, including seals and porpoises. There were concerns that the seabed sediments could contain old chemical pollutants. And here's the intrigue. To navigate these complaints, engineers developed a strategy with almost military precision. Dredging operations are being conducted with consideration for animal breeding seasons, and murky plumes in the water are monitored using satellites and underwater sensors. So far, environmental oversight remains strict, but the deeper they dig, the more questions arise. Meanwhile, in a specially constructed port in the Danish town of Rødby, a factory resembling a sci-fi industrial complex of the future has sprung up. There, giant tunnel sections, each 217 meters long, are being manufactured. Once assembled, they'll be floated, towed, and submerged into the trench, where they will connect with millimeter precision. The process is like an underwater Lego set, just on a mind-blowing scale. But the biggest question remains: why the urgency? And why so much sand? Some analysts believe that Germany and Denmark are building more than just a tunnel. They're creating a strategic artery for future economic and political crises. This structure could become a key hub for redirecting flows of trade, energy, and even military logistics. That's when the secrecy begins to make sense. Now comes the most unexpected part of the project. How the tunnel building technology is literally rewriting the rules and could be used in other parts of the world, from Asia to the Arctic. Stay with us, it's about to get even bigger. If you think it's all clear, tunnel, dredging, construction, you've only just scratched the surface. The most fascinating aspect lies in how this underwater giant is being built. They're using a method that completely breaks conventional tunnel building norms. Instead of drilling through rock, like in subway or mountain tunnels, engineers assemble massive concrete sections on land, then send them out to sea. Yes, you heard that right. Each tunnel segment, the length of a football field and the weight of a naval ship, literally floats across the Baltic Sea. Every section is crafted in a specially designed dry dock, resembling a secret military base. Once the concrete is poured and reinforced with thousands of tons of steel, the structures are sealed, flooded with water, and rise like giant concrete whales. They are then towed to the installation site and lowered into the pre-dug trench on the seafloor. All of this demands flawless navigation and coordination. Just a few centimeters off, and disaster could strike. Here's a twist. Some of these segments are equipped with special components not mentioned in official reports. Rumors suggest that in addition to transport infrastructure, they may contain strategic communication lines, fiber optic cables, sensor systems, and possibly other classified channels. This suggests the project might have military value, not just infrastructure significance. No one says it outright, but Scandinavian analysts are increasingly using the term dual use. But the core of it all is the scale. The tunnel will include 4 lanes for vehicles and 2 railway tracks. This isn't just convenience, it's a corridor capable of transporting thousands of cars and hundreds of trains daily. Travel time will drop to 7 minutes by train and 10 by car. By comparison, the current ferry trip takes about 45 minutes, if there are no delays. Now imagine how this will change supply routes, tourism flows, business travel, and strategic logistics. A fast, reliable connection between Northern and Central Europe is no longer a dream, it's becoming reality. To support this project, one of the largest construction facilities in Europe was created, over a kilometer in length. It will produce 89 tunnel sections, each assembled with millimeter-level precision. All of this under a strict schedule, constant engineering oversight, and near-total media silence. And that raises even more questions. While part of the world marvels at Dubai's architecture or Chinese skyscrapers, a revolution is unfolding on the Baltic Sea floor, one that might later be called the beginning of a new era. This is no longer just construction, it's infrastructure geopolitics. What if similar tunnels begin to appear in other parts of Europe and the world, under Sicily, between Japan and its islands, or even beneath the Bering Strait? But before we build a bridge to the future, we must ask what the consequences will be. Economic, environmental, political. Now you'll find out the incredible benefits and dangerous downsides this tunnel brings, and why, for some, it's a gateway to a new Europe, while for others, a troubling sign. At first glance, it all seems logical. The tunnel shortens travel time, speeds up transportation, and boosts the economy. But behind these obvious benefits are deeper shifts that could affect not just Germany and Denmark, but all of Europe. Because the Fehmarnbelt Tunnel isn't just concrete and steel. It's a catalyst, a prototype of the future. And like any technological leap, it comes with immense potential and unsettling risks. Let's start with the obvious, the economy. Thanks to the tunnel, freight transport will become faster and cheaper. Previously, goods were delayed at ports, dependent on ferry schedules and the weather. Now, everything runs on time, without delays. This means increased profits, reduced logistics costs, and stronger trade links from Scandinavia to Italy. Trains will be able to cross the Baltic in just 7 minutes, and trucks in 10. Now imagine the scale. Thousands of trips each week, millions of tons of goods transported across Europe. The continent gains a new backbone. But here's the twist. Small coastal towns, once thriving on ferry traffic, have started to panic. Puttgarden, Rodby, these cozy tourist destinations fear turning into ghost stations. Ferries, restaurants, hotels, all of it might go bankrupt. Local authorities are rushing to reinvent these towns as tourist hubs, opening new beaches, building bike trails, and scenic promenades. But will that be enough to compensate for the loss of their main economic driver? Next unexpected turn, ecology. Reducing CO2 emissions sounds great. Thousands of trucks and ferries will be replaced by electric trains. Projections promise a reduction of millions of tons of carbon emissions annually. But there's a darker side. Dredging disrupted marine ecosystems, stirring ancient sediments that may contain toxic substances. Activists are sounding alarms. Populations of rare porpoises are already declining. The water near the construction zone has become murky, while noise and vibrations are scaring away marine life. And that's still not all. Experts who initially supported the project are now asking tough questions. Is the €7 billion price tag justified? Especially when that's just for the tunnel alone, not counting upgrades to railways, bridges, ports, and highways. Some economists argue that the tunnel may take decades to pay off. And what if political tensions shift? What if new transportation technologies emerge that make the tunnel obsolete? Yet the most alarming twist is geopolitical. In an era where transportation infrastructure can become a weapon, the tunnel becomes a strategic asset. Who controls this passage? What guarantees are in place that, in a conflict, it won't become a bargaining chip or even a target? Europe has already seen how logistics can be used as a tool of coercion. And yet, despite all the risks, the project moves forward. Because this is not just construction, it's a symbol of a united Europe, moving toward a carbon-neutral future. But like any symbol, it comes with sacrifices: economic, environmental, human. While some applaud, others silently watch, hoping the gamble will be worth it. Now let's talk about how the Fehmarnbelt project is changing the entire philosophy of transportation. It's no longer just about speed. It's about strategy, climate, and the planet's future. Don't miss the finale. It will surprise you. The future of transportation isn't just roads, rails, or bridges. It's strategy. And the Fehmarnbelt Tunnel is no longer just a construction feat. It's the first signal of global transformation. Where speed once mattered most, now sustainability, integration, and geopolitical influence take center stage. Europe, facing climate challenges, migration pressures, and energy dependence, is building infrastructure that can withstand not just the weather, but politics too. Fehmarnbelt is a prototype. Other nations are watching closely. In Japan, they're discussing tunnels connecting distant islands. South Korea and China are exploring underwater routes. Even in the Arctic and around the Bering Strait, such connections are entering the conversation. Why? Because this tunnel has proven, with political will, technology, and public support, even the impossible becomes real. But here's a twist: not everyone likes it. Some countries worry that such mega projects could upset the balance of power. If one corridor begins to dominate transport flows, it could dictate terms. Fehmarnbelt potentially hands control over Scandinavian Central European trade to just two countries, Germany and Denmark. What if disagreements arise in the future, or someone decides to use this infrastructure as leverage? Meanwhile, environmental activists continue to monitor the impact. Early reports say certain mollusk species have disappeared from construction zones. Shifts in ocean currents have been recorded in some areas. Yet the project marches on. And here's another twist. For the first time in history, the European Union is using Fehmarnbelt as a test case for a new green construction model. If the results are positive, this could become the new standard. If not, the EU's reputation is on the line. And now, the biggest philosophical shift. The future of transport isn't just about speed, it's about purpose. Every kilometer of infrastructure should be built not just for machines, but for people. Not just to move cargo, but to bring the world closer, cleaner, and more sustainable. Fehmarnbelt shows how to shorten distances without increasing carbon footprints, how to build in ways that connect rather than divide. And finally, one last twist that makes you think. Germany and Denmark started this project as a purely infrastructural endeavor, but now it has become something more, a symbol of a new Europe where speed meets responsibility and technology aligns with ecology. A symbol that even beneath the sea, something strong, unifying, and quietly game-changing can be built. In the end, they weren't just digging sand. Without headlines or political speeches, they carried out a project that could reshape everything, from logistics to climate, from trade to diplomacy. That's how a new era began. What do you think about this project? Is it the future or a mistake? Leave your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.